everybody, it's Mist here, and today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on My Hero Academia chapter 299. So this week's chapter was centered around Hawks and his upbringings. I think that's really cool, We finally get to see Hawks past, because I'm sure everyone must have been like, oh, Hawks, what do we know about him? Like, where was he from? Where did he stay? How did he become a hero? How did he work with the government? Like, I'm sure everyone was wondering, and now we finally got the chapter telling us everything, which was really cool. Because as for me, I'm a huge fan of Hawks, and I think he's really cool. And finally getting to see a chapter centered around him, I was like, yes, finally. Like, I was apt, and I loved reading it. I wish there was more being told. I mean, like, I would have loved to see his training as he was growing up and stuff. But I mean, we don't all get what we want in life, so maybe they'll be in the next chapter, or maybe in the future chapter. Who knows, really? Yeah, the chapter starts off with him talking about how he thought the heroes that he saw on TV were never real, and I was like, dang, bro, you live in a world full of superpowers. How can heroes not be real? Or was your life that bad that you never really thought heroes were real? But then, as we continue, we see that his dad was a thief. Well, that was also mentioned in other chapters, other My Hero Academia chapters, that his dad was caught by Endavour. We finally get to see how he actually ended up getting caught. And here it stated that he got caught trying to steal a car and fleeing. So I mean, tough luck. But before that, we see that his dad wasn't really that much of a good dad, because he's out here blaming this kid. He's like, oh, you're useless. He's like, oh, if only you hadn't been born. He's all up in his all up in his feelings. He's like, nah, kid, why did you go out? Who did you rat me out to? What's wrong with you? Get out of my way. Don't show your back to me. And I'm like, what the hell, bro? Come on, just relax. Like, he's just a kid, and he said that his wings were tingling. So come on, I'm like, just reading that. The fact that he said his wings were tingling, it tells me that he doesn't have a lot of friends, or either he doesn't have friends at all, and he doesn't get out much. Because his dad's out here stresses like, oh, you weren't supposed to go out. Don't show your back at me. What's your problem? And then we see him, we're trying to step on the kid. Like, we see that he always kept his emotions and everything intact. So he never really bursted out his dad, like, oh, what's wrong with you? He just kept quiet. He goes on to say, the relationship between my mother and father was so strained. I'm like, yeah, I get it. His dad was a hitman for hire, trying to run away from the law, so he's stressed out a lot. And his mom, seeing Tara's mom, I was like, she looks like a disinterested person. Because once her husband got caught, they fled the house, and she was like, I don't know how you do it, but get some money. I mean, dude, you're telling a kid to get some money. Like, what does he know? You want him to rob people? You want him to sell drugs or what? That's what I got when I first saw Tagami's mom. I was like, she's not interested. She's just self-centered, and she has weird eyeballs following her all over. And I think that's her quirk. I think that's a quirk. Like eyeballs follow her, and she gets to see without actually having to turn around and look the other side. That's weird. I mean, that did stand out for me. Like the whole eyeballs thing. And they don't even mention Hawk's father's quirk. But yeah, they don't even mention Hulk's father's quirk. Anyways, he got caught by Endavour, so woohoo! T that's a point for justice. Further on in the chapter, we get to see present time Hawks and Best Jeanist. We see that Hawks is strapped in, of course, using some support item, and he's using his phone to talk, which is really concerning because I think his voice is gone. It seemed like his voice was gone because we see that he's tapping on his phone, and as he taps, and then his phone speaks for him. And that's like, oh man, the dude lost his voice. So it's not only Todoroki, he doesn't have a voice anymore, it's Hawks too. And that's some sad stuff. We finally get to see him present time. I actually thought that Hawks was like still in hospital, burnt like a biscuit. I'm actually thinking we got some fried chicken dinner. But we finally get to see, hey, he's actually alive, he's doing well. We finally get to see an explanation of the whole Best Jeanist body thing. Because I thought when I first read that chapter, the whole chapter where we see Best Jeanist's head, I was like, hey, this dude's dead. Like, Hawks actually killed him. Like, no ways, this guy's probably really evil. But I'm like, hey, wait. Now they're finally explaining it, and that's really cool. Turns out that there was actually his real body, but they just did some surgery on him to make him seem as if he was dead. I was like, oh, cool. So people can do that surgery to make you look as if you're dead, but you're actually not. He's like, he says, and I wouldn't have undergone their surgical procedure to put me in a dead-like state, inspired by those known. I was like, cool. So that was the real deal. It was actually Best Jeanist's body in that body bag. I was like, hey, so Hawks actually pulled it off. A real body with real blood cells, with real everything. But it just turns out it was surgery to make it seem as if he was dead, but it was actually alive. I was like, that's cool. As we proceed, we see Best Jeanist fight off some villains. I was like, oh, cool. The villains are rampaging. We finally get to see some villains, and we see this dude here. What's his name? We see Binge boy. Yeah, we see binge boys trying to take over a store, which was, it's a villain 101, I guess. Go terrorize some people, get yourself a store, and you cool. One thing that really started for me in this panel was what Best Jeanist said. The whole fiber on thing. It just reminded me of the Human Torch. I mean, I can't be the only one that's that saw this. Like flame on, fiber on. I was like, what? Come on, Best Jeanist, is that the best you got? Fiber on. That just really gave me some major Human Torch vibes. After Bastionus apprehends this binge boy after saying his fiber on, he asks like, hey, what's happening? Where are the heroes? They're like, nah, they ran away. Only the cops are doing the jobs and they're trying to stop the mass jailbreaks. It's like, oh, cool. And then we see this dude in the back. He's like, heroes don't exist, and we see him holding this. I think it's a sports item, so I assume that he's a hero. He's a hero, either a teenager trying to make a difference, but I think he was a hero because we see Bastion's thinking to himself, he's like, yeah, too, huh? So I assume that this dude is an actual hero, but just too afraid to do anything, because the whole hero state after what happened in that whole war arc. I'm sure like all the heroes are either resting, some are afraid to go out, and like it's no longer child's play, because the villains running around all over the place. And I'm sure there's a lot of people. Well, I know from what I've seen in the actual, like, people do get afraid sometimes to do things. So this might be the actual case. But hey, at least Pestinus did what he could, and he said that his psychics will handle everything. So yeah, shout out to Pestinus. We finally see Tagami's crib. We see Tagami's new crib that he got, which was cool. I was like, cool, MTV cribs coming at you. What's up, guys? My name's Hawks, and today we're gonna check out my crib. We finally get to see that Tagami actually does live with his mom. His mom used to live with him because she fled after Dubby came in for information. He gets a whole letter from his mom. The mom's like, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the person that you become. People came trying to get information from me. And then we get to see this panel that was really heartwarming. Talami's mom bought him an Endavour plush doll, which is really cool. I'm like, hey, that's cool. His mom actually did care, and I'm glad that his mom did care. At least he had a parent on his side that actually did care, unlike his dad. On the other hand, criminal trying to run away from the law, self-centered, worrying about himself only, worrying about his own safety. I was just heartwarming to see that his mom actually did care, and she bought him, despite the fact that she didn't have much money. She bought him something, and it was the Endavour doll. And he is a huge Endavour fan, so I think that goes well for him. That was great. And at the end, we see her. He's like, hey, you know, Twice was actually a really good guy because he wanted to be useful. He wanted to help others, and I want to be just like him. I think the most I can do right now is trying to help out Endavour because Endavour is in this situation right now. The world might not be on his side, but I am on his side. I understand that what he did in the past was bad, but right now I'm sure that things did change over time, and I just want to help him out, because it's Endavour. Endeavor's a great guy. He's trying to make a difference the only way he knows how to. So yeah, I think going forward, like the whole Endavour story, from what I've seen, Hawks does have a good relationship with the public. So I'm sure if he speaks up for Endavour, it's like, hey guys, guess what? Endeavor's not a bad guy. He actually did what he could, and what he did in the past, he's sad about what he did in the past, and he regrets it. But now he's been trying to change. He's trying to be a better person, a better hero. He's trying to be the number one hero that he could be. Because even All Might once, like if I remember correctly, even All Might once said to him, like, you have to understand what being number one means for you. And like right now, Endeavor's trying to make a change. Just because it's crazy, dude was like, hey, guys, Endeavor is actually a bad guy and he's horrible. It doesn't mean it's true anymore because the man's trying to make a change. And I love seeing that. I think that's how Hawks will make it different because he has a good relationship with the public. But overall, like I mentioned, I did love the chapter and I'd give it, I think like a 3.1. 3.1, if not a 2.9. It was a great chapter. Obviously, more could have been done. Like, I've been hearing stories that, it was an okay chapter, it was chilled. But to me, I loved it, because, like I mentioned, I'm a Hawks fan, so I guess I'm being kind of biased here. But whatever, really, this is my thoughts on it. And all biasism aside, if that's even a word, give it a range between 2.9 to 3.2. Yeah, that's like my scoring right there. Yeah, so that was my take. And if you like the chapter, then like. If you dislike it, then dislike it. If you have anything to say, leave a comment. Feel free to subscribe. And like always say, what you know about anime, boy?